Benoit, could you please tell us a bit about yourself as if you were introducing yourself to a potentially new friend, um, which is our audience.
Okay, I'll try to make this quick. I am from France originally. I'm 30, 39. I just forgot the years
Wow.
passing by. Yeah, 39. Just turned 39. I moved to the States in 2011 to pursue the American
Mhm,
dream. Um, and I worked very hard, built a business, and eventually just burnt out from being really misaligned with what I was actually doing and who I was underneath all of that, and what pushed me
mhm,
to go chase these dreams that were, in fact, not really mine. And then
mhm,
ever since I did a 180, and I stopped, sold a part of the business, and gave myself a year to travel and write because I wanted to understand my brain,
mhm,
why I was successful on paper but just really miserable in life. Um, and that's what I did. And that has been 2 years ago, and I haven't been back to the States so far. Ended up starting a newsletter, fell in love with just the process of writing and understanding myself. And I write mostly for me. I just compile it in a way that makes sense so I retain information better and happen to share that. And sometimes it resonates with people. Eventually, I had enough writing to publish a book, which is called Unfuck Your Thinking. I'm currently working on kind of a sequel, the continuation of this work. We can probably talk
mhm.
about that. But yeah, I'm essentially a homeless, a happy person now, traveling.
Homeless and happy. That's a contrast, right? Because people think homeless, they think that you must be miserable. You have nothing, you own nothing,
Yeah,
you're just traveling without a home. That's not the impression you get of a homeless person.
correct. Yeah, not actually homeless. Well, it really depends on the definitions that we use. I think words are really important, especially if we start conversations or debates. I had an interesting conversation with that person from the other sex yesterday
Mm-hmm.
um, um, Maduro and what it
Mm-hmm.
means to be a dictator. And we had this. I asked her if I was a dictator, would the world be better, or whatever place I would dictate, would it be better or worse in your opinion? And I kind of started this whole thing like, what is a dictatorship? And I did a lot of work for myself to understand what the meaning of words are because there's a meaning from the dictionary,
Mm.
but it's most of the time the actual meanings of the words are the it's not necessarily what's on the dictionary, but how they had the biggest emotional impact in our life when we heard them the first time. And so it having that realization, I started researching, just doing more work on what words mean, if the words I use don't necessarily mean what it's in the dictionary, then I started questioning a bunch of other things. I just my life is just a continuous uh, jumping from rabbit hole to rabbit hole and trying to understand it. And then uh, I come up with theories, and then I go verify if there's some science behind it. And if it does or if it doesn't matter. I just write it down in a way that I will, it will be useful for me to reread in the future. That's essentially what I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So if you were a dictator, or let's say a cult leader too, would that be a good thing or a negative thing?
Well, it depends who you ask. I think for me, it would be good. It would probably be a lot more chaotic. It really, I think it really depends on what the objective is. If the objective is purely on like survival of the species, I would probably come up with some ways to make it more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's morally accepted and like what is morally accepted, what does it mean? Who created morals? Like is a deeper question. So we can go really far on this, but obviously for me, it would be interesting. A lot more chaos, but organized chaos, I'd say.
Okay. So there is such thing as like a good cult, right? If the leaders are benevolent.
I don't know. Has there been examples of good cults? Are religions good cults? Like, who knows? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I just like asking questions, and and seeing where that takes me.
We like
Trying
asking
to
questions too, so we're just gonna be asking each other
we're gonna
questions.
be asking people questions for now. Yeah. Yeah.
Sai, go
Maybe
ahead.
maybe for the point of the benevolent dictator. I mean, there's the concept of the philosopher king, and I don't th- I don't think we've ever had someone that actually fit that role per se. You know, like fully fit all of the requirements. But maybe we've had people who've like potentially tried. But the thing is, we don't exactly live in this like utopia or in this world where it is possible for such a person to exist, because there are a decent amount of people who are not fit to be like what's the word? They're just not good people, you know. And they have influence, they have power. They can affect the decisions or the power of this benevolent ruler, philosopher king, because they they just don't see the world the same way. They just don't want to see other people benefiting because it affects how much they're benefiting. They prey on the weak, and for them to benefit, that's how they win. You know, they take advantage of others. So the existence of a philosopher king is not suitable for them, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it goes back to what is the intention, the original intention behind it, and what is the purpose of whatever you're trying to do. Because you can have the same results in a democracy; it's just not as transparent. And
Mm.
so it really depends on why you're doing a certain thing in the first place. But it begs the question of like, what are rules of society made for? And do they always make sense? And are rules and laws here to kind of protect us, or to help the non-majority to still be able to exist and coincide? And so there's just a lot of like questions like this that I find interesting. I want to write about so many things. I just have two hands to type. But I get pulled in. My biggest struggle in life right now is choosing what I want to think about and write about. And it's a
Mhm.
great, like, I'm really happy and grateful to have this as my biggest problem today. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I went a little off topic, but that's what I
How
do.
do you plan to like solve that issue? Like what are the ideas or solutions that are popping in your head at the moment, or have thought of?
You mean different types of subject, or how do I
Um,
choose what I work on, one thing instead of another?
yes, how do you choose what to work on? Since obviously so many ideas, it's hard to pick which one.
Yeah.
How do you choose?
So there are two things I take into consideration. Probably one is 70% is where my interest is today, and another
Mhm.
30% is would be who is currently listening to what I'm writing or talking about. Because I happen to be in a situation where I have a growing audience that usually came in for a specific thing, which is like overthinking, or they're just being stuck in life, or they're business owners and have things that they don't understand. So I don't want to go completely off topic and be like, hey, like today we're going to talk about like why we're in, you know what I mean? And so, but I still want to follow my interest. And interestingly enough, there's always ways to connect the dots about the ideas. So it's funny. I think I'm about to start a second newsletter to really give myself the freedom to explore these unrelated topics
Mm.
that might not necessarily be, on brand, that are still very important to me right now. But I don't want to make this a priority and write for other people. Every time I write, it's really, it's a selfish act. Um,
Mhm.
I really do it for me. So I have something, either a question, or I'm stuck somewhere, or something I don't understand, and I want to understand it better. So I'm going to do the research. I'm going to think about it, and I'll write it down in the form of a newsletter. And then eventually, if there's enough information, it turns into a book, just to for me to close the chapter. The book I wrote last year, it's funny, like I didn't plan on writing a book initially, but I just had, after a year to probably 13 months of writing, I went back into everything I wrote, and I put all the articles or the PDFs into a, I think it was ChatGPT, and asked it to create like a what do you call that? It almost looks like a organizational chart, just to
Mm.
see the what was in relation with everything. And I realized a lot of it was about the brain and overthinking and just this whole aspect. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. I can now take this year of research and data and kind of close the chapter for me to be like, I studied this, I got out of it, I'm happy, it's out. And I just
Mhm.
self-published it on Amazon because that was the easiest thing to do. And then I found myself 7 months later reading the book again. I'm like, oh, I'm actually, I didn't forget I wrote this, but now that I'm reading it, I'm not applying this part in my life. And it's funny, like certain things that I wrote about initially, I reapplied them to my content. And then that's what my content started to explode, funny enough. So it's a very interesting process. Long answer to say that I have a lot of ideas, so usually I have a Notion document with when I think of
Mhm.
something, I start taking notes. And then whatever happens during the day, or sometimes I have a thought, like the last newsletter, something I wrote a couple of weeks ago started, I was tanning by the pool. It was around 10 in the morning. And so the sun was not really hot. Well, not too high in the sky. There was a certain angle. It was probably like 40, 42 degrees or something. But so I was getting light from the sun, and I was getting light from the reflection of the pool, which was not moving a lot because no one was in the pool. And so it got me thinking. Um, I'm interested, and I don't know a lot about UVs, and so I researched UVAs, UVBs, the difference, and essentially what will be the most efficient way to tan. Completely useless thought, right? Relative to the skin aging and DNA repair or DNA aging.
Mhm.
And I realized that uh, there eventually led me up to something called the universal law of maximum efficiency. And funny enough, it tied back to a lot of things that I was doing in my life, like the way I work, the way I train, like go to the gym, the way I do a lot of things. And I realized that a lot of processes in life that run through a certain cycle, there's a really efficient way to do it. And so, just like tanning, the most efficient way, just if you guys are interested, it's between
Mhm.
9:40 and 10 and about 10:20. Short sessions of like 10 minutes, followed by breaks, and you do that 3 or 4 times, and that's you get the best tan, best bang for buck, the best tan with the least damage to the skin.
Damage.
So
Wow.
like, so working out is, I treat working out the same exact way, and there's two things to this. There's the point closest to failure, right? And so to failure at the gym, it's easy. Like you hurt yourself.
Right.
When you failure at work is overworking, then you burn out. In
Mhm.
the sun, like your skin burns. So you want to find that the point that's really close to that, the zone of maximum efficiency, and then the goal is to um, do short breaks. I mean, take this and do it repetitively throughout the day. So because when we learn something, we don't learn something as we read it. It's when the brain is not doing that, right? And
Mhm.
subconsciously, like it's the same thing at the gym. You don't Your muscles don't grow when you hurt them at the gym. They grow when you rest. And
Mm.
so I figured, let's find that zone of maximum efficiency, go really really hard for a short amount of time, take long breaks, and do it again throughout the day.
Wow.
And so I go to the gym like 8 to 12 minutes a day, very precise, um, hard, and yeah, I just 8 to 12 minutes a day, and then I'll go 3 to 4 times a day. And that's the same way I work. That's the same way I write. That's the same way I think. And most of the things like biology, cognition, and like sales, it's a system that adapts. Kind of seems to follow that law of efficiency. So
Wow.
yeah, these are the kind
It's
of
amazing.
Yeah.
ways that I come up with these, like they're useless on paper, but then it kind of makes sense. It's and the dots are hard to connect once when you look forward. Once you look
Hmm.
backwards, it kind of makes sense. And I see it's funny every time I think about my life and I look back at my life, everything that I've done kind of makes sense for me to do what I'm to be doing what I'm doing today. It didn't make sense that I studied the things that I did, or that I started in the hotel industry and then went to real estate, and then it's just eventually it all makes sense.
Hmm.
Mm.
um, and I see more and more of that in my life. So I've just learned to embrace life, uh, have a lot more fun, get out of my head. Once I was able to get out of my head, I realized, oh,
Hmm.
the purpose of this is to have fun, right?
Wow.
So let's just have fun.
I agree. I mean, one of my favorite quotes is, "A life unexamined is not a life worth living." And
Right.
so you want to study your life and try to optimize things that work for you as a
Sure.
person. I'm curious. You said that you reread your book and then you had some insight from your own book and you applied it in the work. What was that?
Yeah. So one of the big things that I did when I did a 180 in my life and just stopped running my company like really quick. So I sold part of the business and then the rest I just let it go. I was like, I need to do something completely different, because I just had the thought, if I died tomorrow, will I be happy and proud of my life? And the answer was a big fat no.
Oof.
Like, it doesn't matter what I do next. It has to be at least the opposite of what I'm doing right now. I don't know what it is, but I'll figure it out. And one of the first exercises that I did was to create what I call a hate list. And so it's basically, I looked at everything that I was doing in my life, professionally or personally, that literally I wanted to, when you think about these things, you want to take a pencil and stab your eye with, with the pencil. And for me, these things were having long, useless meetings,
Mm-hmm.
having employees. I had, not because I didn't like my employees, but it just took so much mental space. And I thought about, we had like 10 employees, 37 contractors. It's a lot of responsibility. I didn't feel good being responsible for all these people. I didn't want to uh, rely on other people to deliver results that I would ultimately be responsible for. And so, in the real estate industry where I worked at, I worked with a lot of people out of state, and they were responsible for certain things, but ultimately, it was my company. And so, when things didn't happen like they should, I would still be responsible. So I listed out all these things, and it took me a couple of days, and I wrote down what I call now my hate list, and the things, and it doesn't give me a clarity on what I should be doing, but it gives me a nuclear clarity on what I should not be doing. So I have this like parameter of things, and like whatever I'm going to try next is going to not include this, right? And this is when I said I will travel and write and figure this out. And like funny enough, I just removed all this. So now I'm still traveling and writing. I write for a living basically, because I sell my books, and people subscribe to newsletter, and it's working great. I don't have or need employees. I do the work myself, and like this is I can do this for the rest of my life, because like this is I'm just doing exactly what I want, and it's great. And so the to get back to the answer of your question, I was doing content, I was filming videos and doing some scripts and stuff, and I read this chapter again, and I realized why I never really applied the hate list to the content itself, because this was a new thing that I was started doing a year ago. And so what I asked myself again, what parts do I not like about making content? And it was reading, coming up with scripts, acting on camera, and doing all these things.
Mm.
Like, I enjoy writing. I was like, okay, but these platforms like TikTok and Instagram, it's mostly you have to talk to the camera. Like, well, let me try expressing my ideas through a written format.
Wow.
And so I still got to get people's attention. So I'll just work on a hook that's interesting, like the core idea that I want to talk about, and I'll make a really short video, 6 to 10 seconds, and then I'll make sure the hook is good enough so people start reading like the first captions, and then it's a long description of the ideas, and that's been working really well for me, and that's a
Wow.
way for me to like to get. It's funny because I just removed the things that I really didn't. enjoy doing. So the fact that I enjoy doing this better means I can do it more and I can do
Mm-hmm.
it better. And so I do more of it and it becomes better, and it's a repeating cycle, and it works. And then it gets people interested in, the other content, and then they go watch the other stuff and they subscribe to the newsletter and they can go deeper. But this is just an example of the power of like knowing exactly what you hate to
Mm-hmm.
kind of find a path of what you do enjoy. And the chapter in this book is like about finding your passion, because I always, a lot of people try to find their passion, and it's something that everybody says, just, you got to find your passion. And I realized it was not the case for me. Like, you keep looking for something that one day I'll find it, we'll get married, and like we'll be happy. And for me, it was really a process of elimination. And the more I go through the different things and areas of my life where I continuously remove things, and go through that process of removing the excess, you can, things fall into place. You find your passion, you find the stuff you're interested in talking about. It's the same with the identity and the personality. I've realized that I've always thought that I was introverted,
Mm.
and I realized I just made that up. Like, no one's born like introverted or extroverted. We have things that happen in early childhood, like trauma or
Mm-hmm.
situations, and we tell ourselves a story, right? And then it happens again and again and again, and we just add a bunch of stuff and layers to the story that we tell ourselves that become one day like an identity or personality. I
Mm-hmm.
realize that it's not the case at all. And so what I realized, I was like, okay, let's go deeper and understand why I am the way I am. Is it accurate or not? Can I change it? And so I went back to like a really clean state, and like now I can
Mm.
build who I want to be, and it completely changed everything.
So from your perspective, would you say that everyone deep down is actually an extrovert?
I don't think extrovert or introvert is actually. I don't think we're.
So they're just labels. They're just labels, and it's just what actually shapes a person is their experiences in life and their traumas. So if
Yeah,
they have different experiences, then they might be a bit more reserved, or they might be more outgoing. There's no
correct. I
extroversion or
think there
introversion.
are. So I've done a little bit of introspection on this. For me, there are three. I call them mirrors of life that shape your personality. The first one would be the
Mm,
childhood mirror. So
Mm.
early exposure to. So because when let's think about this, you're born once. I mean, you're only born once. But for me, we have two lives, and this is why my newsletter
Mm-hmm.
is called the Second Life. The goal is to find the tools and habits to start living your second life. So let me explain. That's going to make sense as well. When you're born, your brain is not developed yet. You get a lot of input, but you can't really think about, does this make sense, is this factually accurate? And so you have your parents, you
mm,
have like how all the input that you have that is already starting to shape who you are. And we know that early trauma kind of shapes the your fears and stuff like that. And then you have the society mirror. So when you go to school, and religion and whatever continues to shape and tell you who to be, who to not be. uh, and then we have the projection mirror, which is all the people in your life that you interact with on a daily basis that um, give you information, or let's say, I'll give you an example on how to explain this. I wasn't, when I was younger, I thought that no one could be confident. I thought that confident people were arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
And the only
mm,
reason I thought they were arrogant is because I couldn't fathom a world and where I could be confident, and therefore other, if I can't be, it means other people can't be, so they must be faking it. So it's not confidence, it's arrogance. And we give basically everything. These The projection mirror is other people's shit reflected back at us, and we take that as a story. And so we have these three mirrors that, imagine like you have these three tinted things that you wear goggles with. It completely changes the information that is coming, and then it's shaping you to have all these thoughts and beliefs, and that one day becomes your identity, which you think is fixed. But
Wow.
all that I've learned, or I've discovered, at least for myself, that it can all be burnt down, and you can rebuild whatever you want after.
That is true, but I mean, I love my identity. I would say, I mean, I'm Lebanese, I'm American, I'm a filmmaker, a podcast host. I do martial arts and have friends in that community, and I have built such a lot of relationships where people know me for who I am and my identity. I mean, of course, I could burn it all down and start from scratch, but for me, it's the joy in life comes from the relationships I have, and that has to do a lot with my identity.
Of course, I'm not saying you should. I'm saying, like, if you don't enjoy your life or who you are,
Right.
it's not fixed, and you're able to change it. And we're able to change a lot more. I just realized that we have the power to change a lot more things than we think about ourselves and who we are. If you like it, if you're happy, then it's great. Like, you don't have to change anything.
Fantastic. So you're more so talking about like we have some friends that since graduating high school they went to college to study consulting and now they're consultants and they hate their job and they're doing this bureaucratic job in the office, long hours every single day, and they don't seem very happy. And if you ask them why, they'll say, "Yeah, I'm saving money so that one day I'll be able to retire and just do whatever I want to do." Um, Maybe you're more so talking about to those people that are caught in a system where they get nothing out of no enjoyment just to be a cog in the wheel.
Yeah, or I'm mostly, like I told you earlier, I'm mostly talking to myself
Okay.
when I have these ideas, and for some people it resonates, and it could be
Mm,
like you say, well, it's funny, like what I was a burnt out business owner, so when I made content about that or the feelings that of that, it a lot of business owners or previous business owners or high execs listen to the content. But I think these are universal things that we all kind of go through. And I don't know, like you guys come from like the same place. You're friends for a long time. You went to the same
yes.
school.
Yeah.
You have the same hobbies and interests,
Yeah.
and yet one of you is wearing a T-shirt, the other one's wearing a suit. So, like, fundamental differences in, like, like there's a reason for you to wear a T-shirt, and there's a reason for you to wear a suit. If I ask you
hmm
why you wear a suit, what is it for? Like, do you
um
ever thought about it? Is it just like a style that you have?
yeah, for me it's well, one, it's like a costume I put on, quite literally. For every pod, I wear this outfit. So I put it on, I get in the mental zone for a podcast, I would say. And then, of course, the professionalism of it and trying to look professional for the pod and keep it standard. But more so, for me, the biggest aspect would be the costume aspect, right? Every time before I have a pod, I have a routine. I go outside, I stand in the sun, breathe some fresh air, then I put on this outfit, and it gets me in the mental zone to do a podcast.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Do you think
hmm
if you were to wear like a T-shirt or a tank top, you would not feel as confident?
Probably.
Okay. Yeah, like these, just some like things to you see. It's not necessarily about like a job that you hate or whatever. It's like these,
Mm.
just questioning for the sake of questioning why we do the things we do, who we are, and I'm interested in the truth more than what kind of truth it is. And that was not like an attack at all or
No,
anything.
no, I agree.
I'm genuinely like curious, like on so many subjects, and there's so many things that we do without thinking. I like thinking about the things that no one thinks about. For some reason, it's strange, but it always leads to somewhere interesting. So yeah, that kind of sums up my my work. So
I
sometimes
like
it's
that.
sorry,
I
go
think
ahead.
you were the first guest. I think you're the first guest to actually point that out in our over 500, almost 600 episodes. You're the only person who's actually mentioned it. um, but yeah, I agree. There, it's, I don't know if necessarily it has to do with a confidence thing. Maybe it's like, maybe Ali just, you know, he's built up the routine to I'm trying to understand like the form of the question, because like when you asked him about if he would wear a shirt, he said he might not be confident. But Ali, is that really true?
I mean, well,
Or do
I
you
have
think
worn
you?
other things on the pod, but to be fair, but just
Yeah.
generally, I'm a man of I like my habits, I like my routines, I like my rituals, you know, in the mornings
Mm,
and at night. And I'm trying to shape those, and I know for me, it just amplifies the what I'm trying to do. So for this podcast, for example, yeah, putting this on, I have it hanging in my room. You know, every time we have a pod, I get ready. All right, time to. For me, it's like putting on like a Superman suit or something like that, right? Which is
Yeah,
just
yeah,
that's how I see it. And so if you ask me if I was wearing a shirt, would I feel less confident? I mean, probably, because that will throw me out of my routine that I'm used to. That's mostly it, I would say. Yeah.
yep.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And I just talked about confidence because like that was the first thing that came to mind, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily confidence. But the question is like, would you feel any different way had you not worn the suit today? And then if the answer is yes, then if you're interested, you can explore like, okay, why would that be? And just kind of question the things that you do
mm-hmm.
subconsciously and see if just to get to the understanding of why you do something. And then maybe your answer is just like, yeah, it's just a costume and it fits. It's just a thing that I do. Like just the things that we do is the very things that interest me. Why do we do what we do?
Why we do what we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
I,
Yeah,
I think the context that I was getting or understanding was is the comfort zone of the individual. You know,
hmm
like stepping out of your routine is stepping out of your comfort zone. And when you step out of your comfort zone, then yes, you might most likely will have less confidence because it's something you're not an expert at. It's something new to you, so you would be cautious. Um, I think when you are cautious, then you will be second guessing and or doubting your decisions or your gut instinct. But and this is something that I've noticed about myself when I was younger, and when I would step out of my comfort zone, I would rely a lot more on my gut instinct, and I wouldn't. It was sometimes reckless, of course, because you know this can be something that's it's completely new to you, and you're not really taking into consideration the risks sometimes. Maybe you know it is something slightly dangerous, and you just you want to try it for the experience. Um, and as you grow older, the losses or the failures that you've gone through, they make you more cautious when you step out of your comfort zone again in the future. So I kind of want to understand your perspective on stepping out of your comfort zone and trusting your gut instinct when you do that, so that
yeah,
you don't second guess or doubt yourself.
yeah. I think the mind wants to keep you safe, and the body wants you to be alive. And
Yeah.
the job of your mind is not to make you happy. It's just to keep you safe. It's to find the most efficient patterns to number one, give you the results with the least amount of work.
Wow.
It's like a computer, and then
Mm,
it's going to search for predictability.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to look for patterns. So, hey, I've seen this pattern
yes.
before. We can make a quick decision. With this decision in the past, we've stayed safe. We didn't die, and so we can use it again. And
Hmm.
if you do that repeatedly without seeking any false information or different type of information, you just live on autopilot. And um, I think it's not good or bad. It's like it's the way the brain is designed for us to stay alive and survive.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I can tell from experience, like I've lived completely in that state for 36 years, and
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of it was a very efficient way of living, but also meaningless and miserable. And
Mm,
when you find yourself doing the same routines and you just have less neuroplasticity, and it just like new things
yeah.
happen when you step out of that, and when you force your brain to ask the questions again. So there's something in the brain called the cortical columns, and their job
Yeah.
is to kind of they're tiny decision makers. And when an information arrives, its job is to say, is this information true or false, right? And if it's true, okay, good. Like we don't need to change anything. We can continue. If it's false, okay, it's not what we thought we were. So now we have to evaluate: is this a good thing? I'll give you an example. When you walk in the street, when you walk in the street and you see in a store, you see a person initially, and you say, oh, there's a person, and you walk closer and you realize uh, that this person is actually a mannequin.
Mm-hmm.
Like both things were true, right? Your mind thought that it was a person, and then as you get closer, the cortical columns have to ask the question again, because like there's new information. I see hair, I see texture, or not, or it's different. And so it had to go
Hmm.
through that true false statement once again, and basically you reassert: is this reality real, or do we have to change our belief, and with the new information adapt and adjust, and then it expands your mind and it creates new neural pathways, right? And so the brain is always going to find ways to make things more efficient, and to make these true false statements decisions easier to make. And I think for me at least, the way of a more fulfilled life is to go actively seek these uncomfortable moments.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why we say, yeah, I mean, you have to do the uncomfortable things to have a more interesting life. Like it's easier to stay in your habits and routines, but it also keeps your brain in this automation, this automatic mode where you just do things without thinking, and you go to work, you go to the same cafe, you hang out with the same people, you have the same conversations, and it's like it's safe, it's predictable, but you're
Hmm.
kind of staying in place here.
I think something that I thought of, and I usually try to do, um, is not necessarily prepare myself. You can't prepare yourself obviously for something spontaneous. It just because it just happens. But if you're going to do something that's new, or like something you don't know what's going to happen, at least
Yeah.
tell yourself, take it easy, just go with the flow, see what happens, and let yourself, just be loose. You don't know what's going to happen. You can't control it. Just say, F it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Like have that mindset it's like when a life coach tells you, is like, okay, it's fine. You can do this, blah, blah, blah. They give you some like advice to like go through the day. Um, be your own life coach in a sense, just
Mhm.
have that inner voice talk to you, have that conversation. Um, maybe that can like kind of calm you down. That's
Yeah,
at
I
least
don't
what
know,
I do. I
bro,
don't know
but
if it would
I
be
feel like
useful.
with that's like a bit of overthinking too, right? When you're just constantly like talking yourself and second guessing your decisions. I think sometimes you just need to go with the flow and what feels right, as opposed to constantly evaluating every decision you make.
Yeah, at the end of the day, when we overthink, we just want to avoid making decisions because it feels safer to stay in certainty. And one of the part of the work that I had to do these past years is like being okay with uncertainty.
Mm.
Uncertainty doesn't mean that something bad's going to happen. It just means you can't predict what's going to happen. But being okay with the uncertainty removes your brain from the when we're anxious or overthinking, the brain goes into binary thinking mode. It's we live or we die. You're like, I'm going to succeed or I'm going to fail. And the issue with that is the world doesn't work like that. There's all the colors in the gray area in the middle with the million different possibilities of things that could or could not happen. And so the goal is to get out of that binary state, to be okay with, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but it could be anything. And why not assume that it's going to be something bad if I don't control it?
Mm-hmm.
There's something called a pronoia. Have you guys ever heard the term
Pronoia. I've heard of
pronoia?
paranoia, but not pronoia.
Exactly. So that is the pronoia is the assumption that the universe basically has a crush on you. And
I
while
love that.
paranoia means, paranoia, you're this person's out to get me, or something's bad's going to happen. Pronoia does the contrary. Oh no, the universe has a crush on me, so like it's looking out for me, and
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be something good. It's going to make sense. And for example, if you're stuck at the you're going shopping, right, at Publix or whatever, and you have two lines you can go into, and you choose the line on the right, and then your luck is like this is the line that's longest, right? And so you can either react to it and say, I made the wrong decision, I'm going to be stuck and I'm mad, or you can say, well, maybe I got into this line because it tells me that I have to slow down, and maybe I'm going to have a conversation with someone that is going to change like my day or their day, like who knows. And just like the simple fact of changing the way how you perceive the uncertainty going forward just opens up your mind to the non-binary thinking. And by definition, like you're going to see and observe and catch things that you would otherwise not catch, had you stuck in the binary thinking.
Wow.
Because yeah, and that's a very different way of living, that just opens up a whole bunch of possibilities. And then you have things like synchronicities and like a lot
Mm-hmm.
more things happen. And this also has to do with a part of the brain called the RAS, the reticular activating system. This is a kind of a filter on what your brain decides to information to keep, because there's so much information coming all the time. The RAS's job is to keep the important information, but you can train that. And if you train it to expect good things and to see like good things, you're automatically going to see more of these good things because you're not blocking the good things from happening. If you expect bad things to happen all the time and you fixate on that, that's what you're telling your brain to filter in or out, right? So at the end of the day, it's a choice, and that's fascinating. And so
Mm-hmm.
you're not really changing the future of what's happening. You're just allowing different things to come into your consciousness, because these things are going to happen. It's whether or not you see them, you choose to focus on them or not.
So it's like your perspective on what's going on. So let me ask you just about like money, for example, right? Money goes up, money goes down, economies grow, economies crash. So you're saying that no matter what comes in or comes out, that you need to take it with a pronoia approach.
Well, you have control on how you make your money, right? I hope
Mm-hmm.
so. That's
Yes.
well, more or less. Like the more you go into the self-employed slash entrepreneur, the more choice you have on how little or how much money comes into your bank account. But I don't. Yeah, let me think on that. I don't really know how to answer this question in that way. I don't think it works exactly like that, but just like expect from. Let's brainstorm. I don't know. There you got me
Aren't
there.
aren't entrepreneurs a bit more paranoid than pronoid? Because
Uh, yes.
they have to think about, yeah.
Well,
Like
yes and
that's
no.
how my
It
perception
really
of
depends.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like my, I can. I was on. I'm still on in a entrepreneurial journey. It's just a complete different experience for me now. The first time around, I was first of all doing it for different reasons. I was just chasing, money and
Mm,
status, just to fill the voids that I had inside, and the little things that happened to me. For example, I got fired unfairly from a hotel job, and so I decided that I would make so much money that I would one day buy the hotel to fire the manager that fired me. That's what got me into real estate. Uh,
Woo!
and then there was another time where I was probably 12 or 13 at the time watching TV, and there was a Dodge Viper commercial on TV, and I was with my
yeah.
brother and my dad. I was like, I'm going to buy that car one day, and they both laughed at me, and I was like, oh, and that just got put a fire in me to make like so much money to be able to afford that car. And I ended up getting a bunch of cars. I ended up buying a bunch of real estate, but I did it for the wrong reasons. And so since I did it
Mm,
for the wrong reasons, I didn't really respect the money that I received or knew how to appreciate it. So I spent a lot of it, and I would just need more, bigger, and better things, or cars, or houses, or boats, whatever the case may be. And this new journey of entrepreneurship is for me is complete opposite, because I'm getting pulled by something which is like interest and the things that really are passionate to me, and I'm not thinking about income necessarily. Whereas before I was chasing income,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not pushed by anger, pushed by things that I'm not enough, so I have to feel enough and do more of that to get that status. And funny enough, like it works better. I'm working less, but what I do is more efficient. I'm getting paid like equal amounts of money that I did in real estate, if not more. And it just everything flows a lot better because, and I had no idea if this was going to work or not. I just decided to, this is what's important to me. This is what I want to focus on. I want to be true to myself and explore
Mhm.
these things and share them authentically. And without forcing, it propelled. It worked even better. And so I've been on both sides, and I don't think entrepreneurs are necessarily paranoid all the time. It's like from like what type of work do you do and why do you do the work that you do in the first place? Like, are you trying to prove something? Most first businesses, I feel, and for entrepreneurs, are they're running away from something,
Ooh.
right? Or
Mm.
that was certainly the case for me, and this is why I could make all the money in the world and never be happy, never be satisfied. So this is why I knew I completely stop and rediscover myself. And what appeared, it appeared naturally. I think there's a big thing that I like to teach people as well is focusing on the questions that we ask. Usually it's how am I going to make this work, how, right? If I want to start a business, okay, I need the LLC, I need the documents, I need the clients, I need the, like, how am I going to make this work? And I now take this question and put it at the end of the equation, if I ask it at all. And usually I don't have to because things just fall into place. What I really focus on now on everything I want to do in my life is, what do I want to do? And then I attach a really strong why to it. So have nuclear clarity on what it is exactly that you want to do. And to get that, I remember earlier in this conversation we talked about the hate list. And
Hmm.
so, in order to get clarity on
Yeah.
what you want to do, you have to be really clear on what you don't want to do, right? So then it gives you the parameter. Then you know, okay, this is exactly what I want to do, and then you attach a strong why to it because when you attach a why, you know why it's important to you. Once you have these two things, you have extreme clarity on what you need to do, and you know exactly why. So you're going to be motivated to do it. You're going to do more of it, which means you're going to become better at it. The how is just going to figure itself out. Like it
Right.
always
Mhm.
seems to, and when it does, things move exponentially faster.
Wow.
The more I apply this to different areas of my life, the more it works. The less I work, and even work doesn't feel like work, but like the results are so much bigger, and there's less effort. Everything just flows because ultimately you're in alignment with what you're supposed to do, what's true to yourself. You're not lying to yourself. You're not lying to the audience, and I think this is why part of why like my writing resonates with people. It's because I truly, it's truly a selfish act, and I don't write thinking about other people. I just write for myself, and so I write to my past self. Right. This is what the lessons that I want to teach, and I want to look back. If I wanted to help the person that was running the real estate business, this is what I wish they would know, and this is how I write. And sometimes my writing is a little harsh because that's how I talk to myself, right? But it makes sense. And then when someone reads it and they are going through similar things, like they really resonate with it because it's unfiltered and it's not. It's just like things that are true to me, and sometimes it applies to other people.
Mhm. I remember hearing someone say that when someone gives advice, they they're giving advice to their younger self, and then the person who's listening can either, might find some way to resonate with it. And I think that's what's happening with you and your listeners. You're
Yep.
that's and it's kind of mind blowing to think of it that way. It's it's basically saying that no one no one else can actually give you the answers. Maybe they can give you the answers for themselves, and you might have some similarities to what they've experienced because, you know, we have certain compatibilities with other individuals, and there are some similarities you'll have with other people you meet in your life, which is fair. But in the end, the right answer is going to come from you yourself. No one else is going to give you the answer.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's funny, like I tell people, because my if we had to put books in categories, my the category of my book on Fuck Your Thinking is self-help. And I literally make videos to tell people don't buy my book because it's a self-help book. It is what it, I helped myself, right? This is what helped me, but I
Mm.
wrote it for me. Like, don't read it and think that this is going to save you. Like, you can only save yourself. I'd rather you, like, I think everyone should write self-help books. Like, this is the point of it, right? I don't mind that you read it, but ultimately it's
Mm,
when the answers
mhm.
come from yourself and you do the actual research and you take the time to write it down in a concise way, and maybe you have chapters and different paragraphs, whatever the case may be. Like, this is how I've gotten the best results in my life. And so,
Mm.
yeah, it's like the more I tell people to not read it, the more they want to read it. It's like it's funny, but it seems to work like that.
There
But
is
none of
something very
it's good.
powerful about
Yeah,
putting words to paper. I think it's like when sometimes you voice your ideas and you're like, that's a good idea. You might follow it sometimes, or other times you're just like, you don't follow through. But then when you write it down or like put it on your to-do list and you visually see it as well, you're it kind of propels you to take more action. I don't know what is it about that, the visual and the audio listen, like audio part of being of receiving that information. It just does something to your brain where you're like, I have to do this now. I have to take action.
yep. Writing has been just the most important thing I've done in my life. I think everyone should be writing. I strongly believe that no one actually needs therapy. They just need to hear themselves think. And for me, writing is how you do that. Writing is how you
Wow.
hear yourself think. You're just taking stuff that's in your head, and like you said, as soon as you put it on paper, if you're anxious, I used to do this exercise. If someone is anxious and they have trouble
Mm,
sleeping, that you just think about a lot of things. The simple act of taking all these thoughts and writing everything on a piece of paper, it doesn't have to
yeah.
make sense. It's just like you can see it, like, okay, it's on a piece of paper, it's no longer in there. Your brain automatically relaxes, the
Mm-hmm.
nervous system relaxes, right? There's also writing helps you slow down your thinking because it's physically impossible to think as fast as you write, so it makes you slow
Right.
down.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then I guess the last point would be, since you can take your time, and I guess it goes back to uh, once you're able to teach something, you've truly understood it. And this goes back to why I write in the first place, is because I want to understand things fundamentally. And if you take the time to write and articulate your ideas in a way that it makes sense, with a beginning and end, a conclusion, maybe a framework, something that you apply to you will have actually mastered, what you talked about. And it's hard to do that all in your head. Like, I'm not smart enough to to come up with theories and have concluded. It just doesn't do the same. It doesn't have the same effect. uh, writing is such a tremendous skill, and I kind of fell in it by accident. Actually, it's interesting because when I was running my real estate company, I had an SEO team that would write our newsletter. And one day I was reading it and I said, my ego said I can do this better. I think I can do this better. And so let me take on this challenge. And I started writing in a different way. And like it, interestingly enough, it was performing better. We had more leads, and I started integrating personal stories and like more of a human aspect to it. And I found the writing to be a really interesting way to not really persuade people, but to share ideas, and I saw the power of it. And this is why I decided to do more of that when I uh, stopped the business, and that ultimately became like my full time thing. But I kind of stumbled upon it by accident, so it's interesting. Yeah, no, I swear by writing. Couldn't recommend it enough.
I'm inspired, Said. We got to start writing together, bro. For better
Yes,
cause.
definitely.
Um,
I'm still to. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Ali. I apologize.
what were you running away from? You mentioned that most people, when they start their first business, they're running away from something. What was that for you?
um, yeah, I felt insecure. I lacked self esteem. And so I had to make a lot of money to buy things to appear that I was successful or to appear that I was someone worthy of having these things.
Hmm.
Um, it, ultimately, it was a lot of avoidance and things that I like questions that I never asked. Like when I told you the little stories about getting fired and the Viper commercial, or like all these things kind of shape you and they push you into a certain direction to do things that um, push you away from who you are. So I didn't feel like I was enough, even though I had, we were making like an ungodly amount of money. I still felt like a piece of like I didn't feel good about
Hmm.
myself, like that because I was doing things for the wrong reasons. I was trying to fill a void of not basically loving myself for who I was, and so I had to replace it with other things, right? And having employees, so I felt important, and having money, and so then I could like live in the cool neighborhood and having the nice cars, so that people would think that, oh, this guy's got it figured out. When in reality, it was a shit show in my head. I'm so sorry. I've been swearing. I don't even know if I can
No,
swear.
you're okay. All
Oh
good.
God.
Okay. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't. Sorry, I
Most
didn't.
of
I
our
didn't know.
audience is above 18, so it's okay.
Good, good, good. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and I have a follow up on that. So,
Yeah.
like, people would see that life of you being successful with real estate or business, and they're like, that is the dream. And then they see you now that you're homeless, without possession, traveling around, and writing, and they're like, oh, this guy seems crazy. So, would you say that, like, to be free, you have to be a little bit crazy?
Yeah. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think yes. Let me get
Go,
something
go
going.
ahead.
Give me 1 second. I'll show you
No,
something.
you're all good. He's like
Is he gonna show us
putting
how
him.
crazy he is?
Yes. Oh.
What did you say? Well, I heard you say something, but I didn't hear.
We're talking about crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, do
yeah,
you
no,
think people?
I do think you have to be crazy. Look, this is the. I'm not going to tell you what the chapter is about, but this is the last chapter of my book,
Mm,
and it's called the "Fuck It" philosophy.
mm.
Are you able to read what it says?
The best decisions
Best
won't feel safe.
decisions.
They'll feel slightly insane, and that's usually where your life starts.
Yep.
Then what?
Ooh,
Insanity. Yeah.
Yep.
let's go.
And I firmly believe that you have to have that little bit of crazy and say in these moments where you're like, fuck it, like this is uncomfortable, but I'm choosing action over thinking, and just do this stuff, like, and like the book is a progression of all the steps that I took to ultimately the message is like do it, yeah, to take
Mm-hmm.
action, uh, because yeah, it was crazy for me to quit this the company and to sell everything I had and start traveling with a backpack and a suitcase, and like my parents still think like what are you doing, like get back to France, get a job, like, and then at some point uh, it's funny, like I mean obviously I had some money, I had some investments, then I made investments that didn't work out, uh, so I lost money on that, and then I was basically unpaid for for a little bit, and started to sometimes doubt myself, and the people closest to you are, it's interesting, are the ones increasing that doubt, right? But I was so confident, and that was what I was meant to do right now, and things can change in the future, like maybe I'll do other things later, but it was just I had such clarity on this is what I need to be doing right now, this feels right. I just continued doing that, and eventually like it became a world of a difference better than my life before, income wise, and just I'm a happy person, like my nervous system has healed completely. I did a lot of the work, and I asked the questions, and I discovered why I was who who I was, and I don't know, it's just like it's a completely different life, and this is why it's important for me to call this newsletter the second life. Like I truly believe that the first life, you don't really have a choice on who you become just because your brain isn't developed enough. And you should go through that exercise of, you don't have to change anything, but at least go through the process of seeing if, just asking the questions, I am this way, is, does that fit me? Or, just know that you have the ability to change it. And then there's a bunch of questions that you can ask yourself. I came up with 10 questions. They're really deep questions. I have that on my website somewhere. If you, I can send it to you guys if you want.
Yes, of
Just
course.
a set of 10 like
Hmm.
pretty deep questions. By the end of it, if you answer them, you're able to see if how misaligned you are from like your true purpose in life or what you're supposed to do. Like it's going to be very, very obvious if you're on the wrong path or not. And usually when I give this to people, they freak out a little bit, and it's like, it's okay. It's okay, because like there are like tools to like, like find exactly what you want to be doing.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I think it's important, because the biggest fear I have for me is being on my deathbed and being like, oh, I wish I had tried this. Like, you know, now it's too late. Like I'm about to die in a few minutes, and like I just have a lot of regret. I think there was a book written by someone who worked in the with people who were close to their deathbed and just interviewed 100 or 150 of them. I think like over 90% of the feedback was like regret. I regret not trying, not doing this, not doing that. I'm like, what a terrible way to, like, last few thoughts before dying, right? And that's what I'm trying to avoid now.
Wow.
Most of it can be solved with just action, doing the thing. Like, fuck it, let me try it. Fuck it, let me sell the company and start traveling, and then I'll start writing, and then who knows what's going to happen. I'll figure out the how later. But like, right, like I have this deep, deep desire in me to do this. This is important to me because I want to find out who I am. And look, everything worked out. And so every time
Hmm.
I go back to these principles, like life gets better and better. It's fun. I don't know. It feels like it's on easy mode. This is a second life. And so I want to share it, because for me, like, you can see how passionate about I am
Hmm.
about this, because like I was extremely miserable, and like people would not necessarily see it, but it was just not a way to live. And like now, I want this to last like 200 or 300 years more, because like I'm having more and more fun every day. It's a lot of fun.
Wow. And earlier in the episode, you said that before you thought if you died the following day that you wouldn't have been proud of the work you've done. But if you were to die tomorrow, would you be proud of who you are today and all you've accomplished now?
Absolutely, yeah. I'd be very happy. And you know what's funny? The other interesting thing about writing and publishing is that like this is going to outlive me, right? The ideas and stuff. Like, it's one thing to write, it's another thing to publish. I find that so interesting, and I think everybody should publish. Also, let me get back to the origin, because I didn't plan on writing a book. I just started a newsletter, and I forced myself to publish every Sunday, because also I'm a perfectionist. And so once I start writing, I was like, this is never going to be perfect. So I'm going to continue perfecting this
Mm.
article, thesis, or whatever. And so the only reason I started a newsletter and published in the first place was to force me to get something out, and to just to get it out. So otherwise, it would never have come out, and none of this would exist. And so I'm trying to put myself in situations where just do more of the stuff. Don't get scared, and in the end, it works out. So I forgot what the question was that I was answering, but
All good. That you would be proud of all the work you've done today, and
yeah, absolutely.
that's
Yeah,
where your second life comes in, where
yeah,
that changed for you. It wasn't the case before, but now it is the case.
yeah, 100%.
I'm fantastic. I think that's a great way to end it. Uh, Benoit Malage, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Thank you for you know not only sharing your insight, but also I would say being vulnerable on the podcast with our audience. Definitely great insight to share. Any final words or things you'd like to share?
Final words. No, I'm really bad at this. Two things I hate is small talk at the beginning, and then final words, because I have to sound smart or like say the right thing. I have no idea.
It's
By the way, I don't know anything about anything. I just write ideas and share, and like sometimes it resonates, sometimes it doesn't. I'm certainly not telling anyone what to do, what not to do. I'm just sharing what works for me. And maybe like, well, maybe this would be my last word. Like if everybody would act like a little more truthful and just genuinely doing things that make sense to them and just share them as that,
Hmm.
it'd be super fascinating to see. I think there would be a lot less hate in the world and stuff like that. And now you see, this is why I didn't want to finish, because I easy.
And world peace.
I should have just said thank you, Ellie, for what you say. This was great.
We'll take it. We'll
Fantastic.
take it. No, it's still nice. Thank you guys for watching another episode of A to the Show, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
We're out.
Take it easy, guys.